Building correctly is going to be the difference between your life and death in Smite. Today we are focusing on Hachiman, talking about how to build Hachiman as well as the strengths and weaknesses of the character in your everyday match. Moving into the build straight away, as Hachiman is an ability-based hunter, we're going to build to augment those strengths. So I like picking up Transcendence, Warrior Tabby, then Aussie for the lifesteal, followed by Executioner for the penetration. That's going to make up the core of your build. Now, for the last two items, it's all about what the enemy team has. If they're a tankier composition, you want to build in a full penetration. So finishing up with Kinsai and then something like Odysseus Bow is going to be the play. If they're not as tanky, or if you really like crit, then I recommend finishing with crit, so going something like Poison Star Deathbringer. And then finally, if you're not playing Conquest, don't bother stacking. It takes way too much time. I'd recommend replacing Transcendence with Bloodforge, and then maybe going into a slightly different build that I'm just going to post right on screen right here. That's the build that I like to use. Those are different options that I like to utilize. Now let's start talking about the strengths and weaknesses of Hachiman. Hachiman is a fantastic hunter choice for new players due to the fact that he is both very safe and pretty easy to understand. His abilities are nothing special. I'm not going to be touching on them in this video. But long story short, if you're ahead, you can use your abilities aggressively, but if you're going to constantly get poked out, or if you know that you're going to get ganked, you can also use those abilities in a completely different way in order to survive. So if you have a lead, you can be aggressive, and if you don't, you can play safe. That's why I think Hachiman is one of the best hunters for new players, is because he's versatile and can do it all. Now, the flip side to being so easy to understand is Hachiman also lacks that wow factor. If I'm to compare Hachiman to Heimdallr, well, as for myself personally, I'm going to pick Heimdallr 10 out of 10 times over Hachiman. Heimdallr just brings more things to the table. Heimdallr's a lot more complicated to understand than Hachiman, so the new player might not understand everything that Heimdallr does. But Heimdallr would mop the floor with Hachiman just because Heimdallr has that wow factor, that I'm going to look at you and kill you factor that Hachiman just doesn't have. But all that being said, let me give you some tips and tricks so that you can try and compete with these top tiers that you're inevitably going to have to fight. In general, your second ability is your main clearing tool and your main poking tool. Don't forget that it also gives you a boost in attack speed, so if you and the enemy carry have the same items, when the banner is down, you're technically going to be at an advantage. Now, the other thing that I like to do as Hachiman is don't be afraid to dash aggressively. If you're in a boxing match and you know that it's going to be a 1v1, dashing aggressively in order to get that stun off is a very, very good way to quickly change the tide of how a boxing match could go. The final tip I have is you can use your ult to close space, because it also has a slow on that shot, and you can also use it to be safe. Don't be afraid to use the horse to get away. It's a giant CC immune horse that is going to single-handedly carry you out of danger. If Hunbats ganks you, don't be afraid to just mount up and run away. That's what makes Hachiman so strong, is because he's pretty much ungankable if he has his ult up. Now, the final thing I'm going to be doing in each of these building guide videos is creating a tier list as we go, and I'm going to keep it up to date with each new video that I do. Now, as you can see, my tiers are on screen right now, and based off of what I've said in this video, it's probably not going to be surprising that I'm going to be putting Hachiman right smack dab in average. He is very good. He can pretty much go into any team comp. He's very safe, but he doesn't have the wow factor that characters like Heimdallr have. He's very average. Don't be afraid to pick him, especially if you're not familiar with the role. But if you have the extra tech skill or more familiarity in the lane, other picks may suit you better. That's all for this video. Like it if you did, subscribe if you're new, and share this with a friend. Have yourselves a casual day, and I'll see you in the next one.